Hook. A young woman finally learns to love her body after a lifetime of struggling. She embarks on a new modeling career, a testament to her newfound confidence. But at a gathering of friends, she steps out of the room for just a moment. When she returns, she is met not with celebration, but with whispers. Cruel, cutting words from people she once trusted, words that call her obese and a failure. And in that moment of profound betrayal, she is faced with a choice: turn the other cheek, or unleash a verbal weapon so devastating it would end a friendship forever. Story. Our storyteller is a 22-year-old woman who, for the first time in her life, felt truly at home in her own skin. Her journey to this point had been anything but easy. Throughout her childhood and teenage years, she was always on the smaller side, a fact that was a constant source of quiet anxiety. She was thin, and developing a healthy relationship with food was a daily battle. Meals were often a source of stress, not nourishment. It was a destructive cycle, a private war she waged for years. University was the turning point. Surrounded by a new environment and armed with a growing sense of independence, she began to heal. She learned to eat full meals without guilt, to see food as fuel, and to appreciate what her body could do. She slowly pulled herself out of those old, damaging habits, and for the first time, her weight stabilized in a healthy place. The reflection in the mirror was no longer an adversary. It was her. Riding this wave of self-acceptance, she decided to do something bold. In the new year, she started modeling on the side. It wasn't about fame or fortune. It was a celebration of her journey, a final, triumphant declaration that she was in control and proud of the body she had learned to nurture. Recently, she was invited to a friend's house for a casual get-together. The atmosphere was relaxed, familiar. Among the guests were three women she had known for years: Emma, Peyton, and Kat. They were all 24, and at one point, they had been a tight-knit group. But as often happens, life had pulled them in different directions, and their once close friendship had faded into a more distant, polite acquaintance. Still, a sense of shared history remained. Our storyteller had always maintained a degree of loyalty to them, even defending them in conversations where others tried to tear them down. She believed that bond, however faded, still meant something. At one point during the evening, she excused herself to use the restroom. She was gone for only a few minutes. As she walked back toward the living room, the low murmur of conversation drifted out to meet her. And then she heard her name. She paused, just out of sight. The voices belonged to Emma, Peyton, and Kat. The words that followed were like a physical blow. They were talking about her new modeling venture. But they weren't supportive. They weren't even neutral. They were dissecting her, piece by piece. She heard them say she was too big to ever make it. While Peyton and Kat seemed to notice her return and their voices trailed off, Emma either didn't see her or simply didn't care. She continued her critique, her voice laced with a casual cruelty that was staggering. Emma said her waist wasn't small enough. That she needed to be realistic about her chances. Then came the word that stopped her heart. Emma called her practically obese. She said our storyteller should be embarrassed, that it was obvious she was visibly trying so hard. In that moment, the room seemed to tilt. Here she was, a woman who had fought tooth and nail to overcome body image issues, being labeled obese by someone she once called a friend. It was happening in a room full of women who she thought understood the unspoken rule. You build each other up, you don't tear each other down. The irony was suffocating. The very people she had defended were now revealing what they truly thought of her when her back was turned. It wasn't just an insult, it was a profound betrayal. The heartbreak was immediate and sharp. She had never been one to judge another person's appearance. Her own struggles had taught her that you never know what battle someone else is fighting. But hearing those words, her carefully constructed confidence began to crumble. The hurt quickly curdled into a hot, white anger. She stepped into the room. All eyes turned to her. Peyton and Kat looked startled, their faces a mask of guilt. Emma just looked defiant. Our storyteller looked directly at Emma. The words came out before she could stop them, a reflexive, defensive strike. "That's rich coming from you," she said, her voice dangerously calm, "seeing as you've gained 70 pounds since we've met and I've kept a stable weight." Silence. It was absolute and crushing. The air crackled with what had just been said. You could see the impact of the words on Emma's face as if they were a physical strike. Her defiant expression collapsed into shock, then crumpled into anguish. Peyton and Kat looked horrified, their eyes darting between Emma and the woman who had just delivered the verbal knockout blow. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. Without another word, she turned and fled the room. A moment later, Peyton and Kat followed, shooting daggers with their eyes as they left. The remaining girls in the room broke the silence. They rallied around our storyteller. They told her Emma deserved it. That it was rude, yes, but not incorrect. One of them said, they shouldn't comment on your weight if they don't want to hear it back. Their support was a bomb, but it couldn't quiet the storm brewing inside her. She felt a deep, gnawing guilt. It was a low blow. She had weaponized someone's weight against them, the very thing that had just been done to her. She knew that if someone had said that to her, she would be utterly distraught. The fallout was swift. Her phone began to light up with texts, calls, and emails from Emma, Peyton, and Kat. The messages were a torrent of fury, calling her the worst things imaginable. They painted her as the villain, the aggressor, the one who had gone too far. The conflict replayed in her mind on a loop. Was her response warranted? Was it a justified act of self-defense? Or had she stooped to a level of cruelty she never thought herself capable of? She spoke to other friends about the incident, friends who hadn't been there. They offered a new perspective. They told her that Emma had been saying these things behind her back for weeks. It wasn't a one-time slip of the tongue, it was a pattern of malicious gossip. Her family shared the same sentiment when she confided in them. They all believed Emma had it coming. But their reassurance did little to quiet the voice in her head. The guilt was a heavy weight, eating away at her. She had won the battle, but she felt like she had lost a part of herself in the process. She was left standing in the wreckage of a friendship, holding a weapon she was ashamed to have used, and wondering if she owed an apology to the very person who had hurt her first. Verdict: this is a classic case of firefighting fire, a situation where deeply personal insecurities were used as ammunition. Emma's initial comments were unprovoked, targeted, and exceptionally cruel, especially knowing her friend's past struggles. Her actions were a clear betrayal, and she bears the full responsibility for starting the conflict. However, the storyteller's response, while born from immense pain, deployed the exact same tactic: body shaming. It was a direct, retaliatory strike designed to wound Emma in the same way she had been wounded. While many would argue it was a deserved and proportional response, it also crossed a line into a territory of cruelty she herself detests. In the end, no one truly wins. One person's malice created a mirror image in another, leaving both parties hurt and the friendship in ashes. But we want to know what you think. Was this a justified act of self-defense, or did she become the bully in her own story?